Good evening, I'm Annabelle Tiffin. Welcome to North West Tonight. Our top story. After the floods, the race to rescue livestock and communities come together to clear up.
We know them as neighbours, but that's it. So you can't leave, would you leave somebody like this?
And with temperatures about to plummet, we're with the Gritters, keeping the region's roads safe. The Preston Soldier hoping to be the first woman adventurer to ski solo and unsupported to the North Pole.
And we didn't see any snow at Christmas, but we are going to see some this weekend. Join me at the end of the programme. I'll have all the details.
Community spirit was what was needed today as residents in Lancashire faced a clean-up after flood damage. Water rushed into homes in Halsall Lane in Ormskirk after a culvert overflowed, causing thousands of pounds worth of damage. Well, today an appeal on social media brought volunteers together, armed with mops, hot drinks and cleaning supplies. Our reporter Andy Gill joined them.
Mud coats the entire ground floor of Ian McCardle's home in Halsall Lane in Ormskirk. The water was waist deep when the flood hit. The fire brigade rescued Ian and his wife by boat. There's one of several homes on this street hit by the flood.
My missus was doing a jigsaw the night before on a big piece of wood, and the piece of wood was floating around in the lounge and the jigsaw was intact. And the fridge collapsed while I was next to it, just fell over, floated, and I had to kind of dodge out of the way of that. A horrible day, horrible day.
But today, Ian's neighbours have answered an appeal for volunteers to get the clean-up started. Cleaning, sweeping and, when needed, getting rid of damaged items like the curtains.
We don't really know them. We know them as neighbours, but that's it. So you can't leave, would you leave somebody like this?
People have come to help, though, volunteers, haven't they? What do you think of that?
I'm just speechless with gratitude. You know, there's like 13, 14 people in the house. People have donated all kinds of stuff, you know.
As well as volunteers, the community is also raising money for the flood victims. That'll be used for cleaning materials, dehumidifiers, and if anything's left over, to replace damaged goods. The clean-up's been organised via a local Facebook page. When you saw what had happened to these people's homes, what did you think?
It really upset me. Some of the stories have really affected me. I went home last night and I cried. So, yeah, it's just devastating.
Residents like Ian now face a long wait for their homes to get back to normal.
How long's a piece of string? You know, is it ever going to get back to normal? I don't know. We've got so much to do, you know, new carpets, new everything. No, I can't answer that question really because I don't know. I don't know.
It's hoped the volunteers will be back over the coming days to carry on helping homeowners who need assistance. Andy Gill, BBC North West Tonight, Ormskirk.
Well, meanwhile, in Greater Manchester, flooding has had a huge impact on farmland. Sarah Riley, who runs Barrowfield Farm in Urmston, has had to move all her animals after water flooded the farm. Davinia Ramos has been to meet her.
It's not the start to 2025 any farmer wanted. This is how high the water on Sarah's farm got. And this is how it looks now. The damage is huge.
All of the vehicles and the machinery, these were all completely submerged. We've got a minimum of 11 plant and machinery which are insured. We're waiting for confirmation to see whether it's covered for the damage caused by the floods. However, each of those machines have a £2,000 excess.
And that's just in repairs. She also has to replace animal feed and other items which have been lost in the water. Sarah bought the farm in December 2023 with 3 friends. It's on a floodplain but has never flooded this badly before. She says the Environment Agency didn't give her sufficient enough warning.
The only alert that we received was a yellow flood alert, that we receive those all the time, especially through the winter. Had we had sufficient notice that the floods were going to be so severe, for example, a red alert warning, we would have been able to move the machinery up to the higher ground over to the other side of the farm. We were lucky that we used our own initiative to move the animals when we did, because if we didn't, those animals wouldn't be alive right now.
Well, we had to take it in turns going back and to bring them out.
Most of Sarah's farm is still underwater. Her family have even had to use canoes to move around, and the clean-up operation is likely to take weeks, if not months.
It's trying to get to the things that we can save. We tried on the morning when it came over to get as much stuff out as we could, but the speed it was rising at, you couldn't physically get to everything. It's never hit like this and as fast as this.
In a statement, the Environment Agency say flood alerts are issued prior to flood warnings. The South Manchester area is within the Middle Mersey catchment and was subject to a flood alert on the 31st of December. Our officers are visiting areas impacted by flooding to listen to any concerns. But it's clear the stress of the last few days has taken its toll on Sarah.
We haven't slept. We didn't sleep New Year's Eve because we were up monitoring the water. We're just permanently in waders, monitoring everything.
They've set up a GoFundMe page to try and raise funds, and each day will now be taken up trying to salvage what they can. Davinia Ramos, BBC North West Tonight, Manchester.
Now, residents living along the now cancelled northern leg of HS2 are asking the government to release the land so that they can get on with their lives. The high-speed line from Birmingham to Manchester was cancelled by the last Conservative government in October 2023, but the land is still safeguarded. And with talk of a new line along the same route, the uncertainty for residents continues. Well, the government says it will look at the issue in due course. Here's our environment correspondent, Judy Hobson.
Residents celebrating the cancellation of HS2 from Birmingham to Manchester. That was more than a year ago. And yet for communities living along the proposed route, the uncertainty hasn't gone away.
Fussy, aren't we?
Dairy farmer John Edge is retiring. He's trying to sell his farmhouse and an adjacent building, which has planning permission to be converted into homes.
We've had them up for sale since early summer. And yes, we've had plenty of viewings, but everyone has quoted HS2 and the safeguarding as a potential problem.
Even though HS2 is now cancelled, the government is still offering to buy properties like this one.
HS2 have got a blight scheme. They're still buying the properties. And that gives everybody the opportunity to try and move on with their lives. And that's probably what we shall have to do.
In this area, you can see other properties bought by HS2. Many lie eerily empty.
It would be nice if some of those properties, and there will be perhaps 10 or 15 in the locality, they're all standing empty and nevertheless they are decaying. And wouldn't it be nice if they were actually let to somebody?
The house has been empty now for 15 months and it's just going to wreck and ruin.
Graham and Sarah show us another house bought by HS2 Limited. They are both members of Mid Cheshire Against HS2, which was never disbanded despite the cancellation of the rail line.
We had the celebration of the day of the announcement and we all agreed, no, we will not risk disbanding until safeguarding is lifted. And we must have had a sixth sense about it.
I am ending this long-running saga. I am cancelling the rest of the HS2 project.
Former Prime Minister Rishi Sunak cancelled HS2 to Manchester back in October 2023. Then local mayors proposed a new line which would follow the same route, dubbed HS2 Light.
Couldn't believe it. We just thought it was madness. We thought, you know, with no updated business case and with no updated costings, how can anyone continue to even give it credence as a viable idea?
We just could not believe it. I mean, it's as simple as that. It was just a bolt from the blue.
I think it's this uncertainty that is the hard thing for people. They're plunged right back into complete uncertainty because they're in blighted properties.
And giving further uncertainty, there is another proposed rail link in Cheshire which would form part of the planned east-west route, Northern Powerhouse Rail.
It's quite wearing, to be quite honest. You know, you'd like to move on with your life, but you can't really plan for anything. Son Richard, we're a family farm here, and Son Richard farms in conjunction with us. And again, just for him on the land, the same thing. You can't plan anything and you can't move on.
For 11 years, residents here have lived under the threat of a new rail line. Meanwhile, communities are blighted and lives are still on hold. Judy Hobson, BBC North West Tonight, Cheshire.
Right, let's get a look at some of the day's other news now. And Oldham Council has confirmed it will proceed with its own independent inquiry into historical child sex abuse in the town. It comes after Safeguarding Minister Jess Phillips said she believed it should commission a local inquiry rather than have the government intervene. A man in his 70s has been found dead at a house in Salford after a suspected gas leak. Nearby houses on Seddon Street and Little Holton were temporarily evacuated while officials investigated. Greater Manchester Police said it believes the leak was inside the home, while Cadent Gas said there were no network issues. Animals from the South Lakes Safari Zoo are being rehomed after the attraction closed to the public on Tuesday. Cumbria Zoo Company said several birds have been sent to a falconry centre in Oxfordshire, while other animals have gone to Scotland and southwest England. The zoo's been at the centre of a long-running dispute over welfare concerns. Now, as you may have seen on the 6 o'clock news, Warrington's 17-year-old superstar, Luke Littler, is on the verge of becoming the youngest ever world's darts champion. Luke, the Nuke, as he's known, faces Michael van Gerwen at London's Alexandra Palace tonight. Ian Haslam has just sent this from the Darts Academy in St Helens, where Littler honed his prodigious talent.
Hello and welcome to St Helens Darts Academy. As you can see, there's about 150 people here already ahead of tonight's final. How did Luke Littler get there? Well, this is how he did it. He made his second final in a row. Who's from these parts and trained at this very academy. Bunting's been called the people's champion. Littler can now become the actual champion.
I can tell you now, I've got no pressure. I'm sure Michael would have said the same. I'll be happy, but if I don't, then I'll come back on and hopefully switch things up and make it right.
It is about prestige, it's also about money. Stephen Bunting won £100,000 last night for making the semi-finals. The winner of tonight's game stands to pocket £500,000. As he said, Luke Littler used to train here. The man who did all that training, the man who runs the academy, is Carl Holden. Carl, thanks for joining us. This must blow your mind, mustn't it? How good was this man? Did you know it when he was a little kid?
He's different to all the other kids, should we say. Yeah, he's a remarkable player, and we've watched him since 9, and he's just... Every year he just gets better and better, and you know, if anyone can win a World Championships at his age, it's him.
Yeah, he remains so calm, doesn't he? We can see him on the screen in the background there playing against Nathan Aspinall the other day. He never gets ruffled. His temperament's amazing.
Yeah, amazing temperament. Up there on the stage, you need to be able to compose yourself and be very good at darts, and that is really hard to master. It doesn't matter how good you are, if you've no composure, you don't make it on that stage. It's really hard.
In the background we can see all these young players here, possible Luke Littlers of the future. Pretty big tag to put on them. Tell me about the Littler effect in terms of people. You run a dart shop, don't you? How mad has it been?
There's just 4 times more kids coming in than was 12 months ago. It has been a bit mental, but again, Luke Littler's just created 4 to 5 times more children playing darts, or people under the age of 21. There's probably 4 or 5 times more, I think, throughout the world. So nobody else in history's ever done that.
Very quickly, is he going to win tonight?
Yeah, of course he's going to win.
Of course he will, of course he will. Right, thank you for joining us. You played with Luke Littler, didn't you?
I have. I played him a couple of years ago and also last year, just before the World Championships, actually.
Yeah. Are you surprised at how he's just come out of nowhere? Well, he's not come out of nowhere, but he has to the people on the world stage, hasn't he?
Yeah, people didn't realise how good he was, but we knew from the academy he was a pretty good quality as the sport.
Right. Yeah, excellent stuff. Thank you for joining us. Right, some of the young protégés here. Let's speak to some of you. Hitting a few 20s there. Always aim for the trebles. What's your name?
Marty.
You've been hyped up among people as being a potential successor to Littler. I know that's a long way to go, but how much are people inspired by Luke Littler here?
Oh yeah, like everyone around here is inspired by Luke Littler. Just what he's done at such a young age shows that anyone could do it. definitely.
Yeah, and what's your ambition now? As coming here, you're playing on the Luke Littler dartboard here, if the cost of the cameraman can show us now. How much has that inspired people here?
Yeah, it's inspired me loads to, become him. Because everyone wants to be Luke Littler. At such a young age, doing that is sensational.
Yeah. I'll just ask you, what's your name?
Aldi Enbridge.
Is Luke Littler going to win tonight?
I think so, but I think it'll be a tight game against MVG.
Yeah, Michael Van Gerwen's brilliant. Right, just before we go, just to show how hard it is, I borrowed a few darts here. So let's see if I can get a treble, whatever. Here we go. Nah, that's 1, treble 1. That's double 5. And 1. Not easy, this darts lark, is it? Anyway, from here, back to you.
Not for you, Ian, but Luke does make it look quite easy, doesn't he? Best of luck to Luke tonight. And that final this evening of the Darts Championship, the World Darts Championship, it's just one of a number of big sporting events this weekend. In the Premier League tomorrow, Manchester City host West Ham and Everton travel to Bournemouth.
They are much better than the league table shows at the moment. It's going to take a while maybe for Ruben Amorim, but they will definitely go up.
It's a difficult moment because we are losing too many matches. We are going to face the best team this year. We prepare more the team and we want to improve the performance.
Speaking of fierce Northwest rivalries, there's East Lancashire Derby action in the Championship tomorrow lunchtime as 7th place Blackburn Rovers host Burnley at Ewood Park. The Clarets, who've re-signed striker Ashley Barnes, is second in the table as they try to return to the Premier League at the first attempt. Meanwhile, in League Two, 4th bottom Tranmere Rovers, who were beaten at Morecambe on New Year's Day, are in desperate need of a win as they host bottom club Carlisle. On to rugby union, and the Premiership having moved up to 3rd with last week's resounding away win at Bristol Bears. Sale Sharks tomorrow go to Gloucester as they continue their pursuit of a top 4 finish. So that's the sport. Let's return to our top story, the weather, of course, because forecasters are expecting the northwest to be hit by snow, freezing rain and ice on Saturday night and into Sunday. Lancashire County Council has a fleet of 45 gritters spreading hundreds of tonnes of salt to try and keep people safe on the roads this weekend. Well, earlier our reporter Katie Barnfield sent this from their Burnley depot, where they're expecting a very busy evening.
Well, the staff here say they are prepared to work round the clock this weekend if needed. There are weather warnings for both snow and ice across Lancashire this weekend, so they are expecting some pretty treacherous conditions out on the roads. They're actually doing 2 grits tonight. The first one went out about 4 o'clock this afternoon, and I spoke to Liam, one of the drivers, just before they set off.
Well, this is my truck, Gritter Garbo.
Very good.
Tonight, but shortly we're going to go out doing a 20-gram grit. We're expecting significant snowfall, and then around 1 a.m. in the morning we'll be going back out and doing a 15-gram grit, and then the day shift will be coming in to take over from them tomorrow morning, early hours tomorrow morning.
So is that quite a lot of grit then? Is that, you mean you're expecting it to be pretty bad?
Yeah, we know by the 20-gram grit, that's the maximum we can do on this wagon. That we're expecting significant snowfall tonight.
So I'm joined now by Craig, who's the manager of the depot here. Good evening. How are you doing, Craig? So where are you actually going to be focusing your efforts tonight?
So our priority routes are going to be treated this evening, and the priority routes are A roads, B roads in and out of towns, and village roads, roads that serve schools and communities and emergency services.
So how bad are you expecting it to be on the roads this evening?
It's always very difficult to focus on the rainfall or the precipitation, where it's going to be and what sort of precipitation it's going to be. We're looking at perhaps 2 centimetres of snow, maybe on the higher ground over in the east of the county. We're prepared for that.
And you've got some new kit, haven't you, if it gets really bad with the snow?
So the forecast possibly worse tomorrow. We have got this new piece of kit, which is our new Unimog, which has an amazing plough, and we can also fit a snowblower onto the front of this. So if the snow does get deep, we have got the equipment to deal with it.
You are well prepared. Yeah. So what is the advice for people if they do need to get out on the roads tonight?
So if you're going out on the roads tonight, or particularly in the morning, think about where you're going to park this evening. We've got a problem with people parking on main roads and blocking roads, and then we can't get down and treat them. So think about that. Set off early, give yourself more time, Take it nice and easy until you get onto the main roads, and the main roads should be clear in the morning.
So there you are. If you're going out tonight, take care and give it plenty of time.
Yeah, Katie Barnfield there. Very good advice. Take care if you're going to be on the roads. And also if you've got vulnerable neighbours, vulnerable relatives, elderly relatives, now is the time to check on them, because it is going to be very chilly this weekend, as we've heard. And Molly will be here with a forecast at the end of the programme. But we do know it's going to be chilly this weekend, but it'll be nothing compared to the Arctic blast about to hit a former Preston Army officer. Captain Preet Chandy already holds 3 world records for solo treks to the South Pole. And now she's aiming to become the first woman to travel on her own to the North Pole, a perilous 500-mile journey on shifting sea ice. She has been speaking to Phil Cunliffe from Antarctica about the challenges she faces.
I am here in Antarctic summer, November to January, and I've got 24 hours of daylight. In the Arctic, I will be starting in March, so I will be getting, quite a lot of darkness, and it will move into 24 hours of daylight. On the sea ice, I could put my tent up in the evening and then wake up in a different position in the morning. So it could even be the case that I wake up behind where I've started. Hopefully not, but that can happen. And there will be sections of open water where I literally need to get on a dry suit and swim across. I've got a sled that floats, so, that will come behind me, get out on the other side. There'll be sections I have to put snowshoes on to climb over, 10 feet high blocks of ice. So quite challenging.
Just a word on the wildlife that you might encounter in the North Pole. It's killer polar bears, very different to the South Pole where it's penguins. How do you protect yourself?
Polar bears, I believe, are quite curious. And for me, I'm in their territory here. So it's, trying to keep them away, really. So I've got flares with me and I'll have fences as well. So just trying to, make sure that I'm really vigilant.
How long is this going to take you?
So I aim to start in March. And then it will take, I think, around 70 to 80 days.
It's dangerous, it's exhausting. We're talking potentially temperatures minus 50 degrees Celsius. Why do you want to do it?
I think there's something really beautiful in pushing yourself, and there is a very slim chance I'll actually make the end. This trip isn't just physically very hard, but logistically it's so hard and very expensive. But I think there's beauty in trying to do something, even if you don't make the end.
You're expecting to fail potentially here.
Honestly, nobody likes failure, and I think we don't encourage it, but I do think it's sometimes good to fail. I think I've learned more from my failures than I have ever from over my successes. And of course, I will try everything I can, but I think there's 5 to 10% chance.
And of course, if you can do it, you'll be the first woman ever to make it solo to the North Pole.
Yes, I will, which will of course be incredible.
What an amazing feat. She's going to do it. She'll be absolutely brilliant. And, it does make you think, doesn't it, when we say it's a bit chilly. But it is chilly. We can't lessen that fact, can we? It is cold. And for older and more vulnerable people, that makes it very difficult, doesn't it? For the rest of us, like that charming dog behind
He's
you,
enjoying it. He's enjoying it, yeah.
But it is really going to get icy, isn't it?
It is. It's icy, snow on the way. Taking a look at the Weather Watcher pictures from today, though, it was a pleasant start for some, albeit very frosty. He's enjoying himself, this little dog here. And then there was a bit more cloud in the sky, but some sunny spells too as we progress throughout the day. This was the scene on the Wirral. Thank you very much for sending your Weather Watcher photos in. If you'd like to send your own photos in, you can do. You can send them to me on social media, or better yet, you can become a Weather Watcher. And we'll try our very best to feature your photos at some point. So how is the weather looking for the weekend then? It's staying cold. So there is going to be an amber weather warning in place for snow from Saturday evening into Sunday, late Sunday. So we are expecting, it depends where you are in terms of how much snow we'll see. The warning is covering the majority of the northwest. So some of us could see just a few centimetres, others could see up to a foot on higher ground, but it is expected to cause some disruption. So let's take a look at the bigger picture then. This deep area of low pressure, that's going to move its way towards us. And essentially that is bringing warmer air and it's going to collide with cooler air. And that, on that boundary is where we're going to see a heavy dumping of snow. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Overnight tonight first, you can see there will be a fair bit of cloud overnight. We will have some showers. Some of these will be wintry in more northern parts. Temperature-wise, feeling very cold. Temperatures dropping to below freezing. Now, there is an ice risk as well, a yellow ice risk in place overnight. So do take care if you are out and about on the roads. And then into tomorrow, you can see there will be some sunny spells and some cloud. We will see some wintry showers first thing, but these will lessen as we progress throughout the day. The worst of the snow coming a little bit later overnight, temperatures dropping to around 3 degrees Celsius, so a really cold day. And as I mentioned, a very disruptive night. From Saturday night around 9 p.m. into Sunday, we're going to see heavy snow. Do keep up to date on the BBC weather app and your BBC local radio station as well. But by the time we wake up, many of us will see a blanket of snow, but it will be fleeting. We will have some rain come in, and essentially things are going to get a lot more icy. But as we wake up on Sunday, many of us will see very snowy scenes. Temperatures staying a lot lower though, around 3 degrees Celsius, so extremely cold. For this time of year, as we head into next week, it's staying very cold as well. Look, in fact, it's getting colder, Annabelle.
Colder. It is. Look at that, 3s and 2s and 1s. I suppose what's difficult is where it's going on the high ground and then the snow melts and then anybody that's been flooded, that's the last thing they want, really, isn't it? More water coming down. That's it. Good luck to Luke Littler. Build-up starts at around 7 p.m. tonight. We'll all be glued to it, and you'll get the result on, if you're not watching it, on our late bulletin with Eunice Muller later on at 10:30. In the meantime, have a lovely weekend from us. Bye-bye.